The traitor! Mammoth, the destroyer!
Once a blue Zoid, now a follower of Red Horn, brings his terrible power to bear on his former allies.
I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power.
Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe.
It begins!
Ancient steel titans of hell had gone me past. Bound black armor combat Zoid power vast. Fang beam tusk swing left and right with power. Mammoth suffering puppet finest power. Strikes across the sky. Mammoths those blasted to bits as they die. Titanic power Zoids, iron and steel. Foes to the mammoths feel their power real. Mammoths, they shake them down with metal tread. Mammoths, machine war beasts leave their foes bled. Mammoths, none can stand as attack, but Mammoths know no fear. No call to war heed, only to nowhere. Mammoths march to battle at front line fierce. Mightiest helix Zoids, steel tusks will pierce. Circuits burn the fight with battlefield rage. Mammoths fight for supremacy in blaze. Dark Zoids dare to defy with their attack, but Mammoths will crush them all on war track. Mammoths, they shake the ground with no tread. Mammoths, machine more beastly, their foes bled. Mammoths, none can stand as they charge ahead. Mammoths blast their beasts, sword to foes are dead. Mammoths, they shake the ground with no tread. Mammoths, machine more beastly, their foes bled. Mammoths, none can stand as they charge ahead. Mammoths blast their beasts, sword to foes are dead. Dark Zoids crushed in war comes to bitter end. Mammoths trumpet victory as they ascend. Bring on the next war before steel glory fade. Xanabus' empire rises to invade. Mammoths, they shake the ground with no tread. Mammoths, machine more beastly, their foes bled. Mammoths, none can stand as they charge ahead. Mammoths blast their beasts, swords of foes are dead. Dark Zoids attack, but Mammoths know no fear. No call to war heed, only to nowhere. Mammoths march to battle at front line fierce. Mightiest helix Zoids, steel tusks will pierce. Circuits burn the fight with battlefield rage. Mammoths fight for supremacy in blaze. Dark Zoids dare to defy with their attack, but Mammoths will crush them all on war track. Mammoths, they shake the ground with no tread. Mammoths, machine more beastly, their foes bled. Mammoths, none can stand as they charge ahead. Mammoths blast their beasts, swords of foes are dead.
Devastating though these machines may be, they are the least powerful of their kind. Stronger and more savage are the Power Zoids. Giant machines whose very passing can topple mountains. Even now, a Power Zoid approaches in search of enemies to destroy. There is a tang of danger in the air, but the Power Zoid moves forward steadily. This is a creature of brute power. Its own strength is protection enough for most enemies. It has no need for caution. I speak the name of power.
Zoids built an engine of war. Master machine with some dark power core. Bound in black steel, armor he is ready. Mammoth trumpets, battle cry and stand steady. Mighty Zoids surge, they fall. The Empire and the Zoidarians all. The Zoids now rule over planet Zoidstar, but Mammoth seeks to rule all as the Tsar. But with mighty Zoids surge, they fall. The Empire and the Zoidarians all. The Zoids now rule over planet Zoidstar, but Mammoth seeks to rule all as the Tsar. Mammoth the Destroyer, turn from black to red. Mammoth the Destroyer, red Zoid, big head. Mammoth the Destroyer, his foes destroyed. Mammoth the Destroyer, traitorous Zoid. Traitorous Zoid. Second to Zoidzilla, Mammoth takes heed as he spies Zoids of the red mutant breed. Led by Redhorn, they war on the blue, but Mammoth's schemes will show his color true. show, he turns on his old friends. Mammoth the Destroyer seems blue Zoid cleanse. Second to Red Horn, his ambition burns hot. Visions of command, Mammoth ducks his shot. Mammoth the Destroyer turns from black to red. Mammoth the Destroyer, red Zoid big head. Mammoth the Destroyer, his foes destroyed. Mammoth the Destroyer, straight to his side. From black to red, Mammoth the Destroyer, red Zoid big head. Mammoth the Destroyer, his foes destroyed. Mammoth the Destroyer, straight to his side.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight.
I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.